I know 9 out of 10 of you would never ask that question. The one person who will is going to close 12 sales in the next 6 months. Have you ever had people say something like, oh, it doesn't matter, maybe soon, maybe next year? Like, do those people buy homes? Especially when the rates are 8%? If you have somebody that's been saying something like that to you, drop them. They're wasting your time. Somebody says to you, well, we got to move in by July 1st because my job starts then, or the baby's on its way, or my lease is up. Double down on those people, they're going to buy. All of your problems with all of your buyers, this is how you go through it. This is probably the most valuable thing I'm going to teach you guys today. My name is Jessica Nelson, and I'm here with the Texas Elite Builders. For the first time ever, the queen of listings, who only talks about listings, is teaching a buyer's class. So I'm super excited to share this content with you guys. I went through my year where I did 52 sides, my first year here in Texas. And I actually realized, I uncovered that I did 12 buyer sales that year. I'm not trying to call anybody out, but how many of you have closed 12 buyer sales in 1 year? So actually, me as a listing agent probably did better than most buyer's agents. The other thing that was really interesting about it is I didn't open a single door. So I closed 12 buyer sales with solely the use of the system I'm going to teach you guys and showing assistants. Are showing assistants still around? Are you guys still able to use them? Yeah. Back then I was paying $20 a door. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, the system I'm going to show you guys is keeping that in mind, that you probably don't want to be spending $20 a door on 100 doors because that would be giving away a lot of your commission. The majority of these sales I did with 5 or less showings. Anyone ever closed a sale with 5 or less showings? How freaking awesome is it? Feels great. Yeah, right? Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I have with me today former team leader of Keller Williams Urban. You've trained way more agents than I've even probably met in my lifetime. The one and only Megan Fife.
Thanks. Yeah, good to be here.
And how many closed sales you've done over like 400 in your career?
Over 450 closed sales. I would say probably about 150 of those were buyers.
It's amazing.
Wow.
And I have a huge key to the whole system. In fact, you're probably the most important person, the lender. I have Josh Claudio with Legacy Home Loans.
Hey.
Awesome. So I always remind everyone about, and we talked about this yesterday, and we talked about it in our last workshop, what's your why? Because, some of us who've been in the industry, Claudia, Melissa, you've seen amazing times where everyone wanted to buy everything, and it was so easy. And now we're starting to see tough times where we could feel like we're giving them everything and they still want to think about it. So what gets us through? Why are we still here? What's our why? Yesterday it was a smaller room, so I had everyone kind of tell us about their why. I'm not going to put you guys on the spot today, but maybe when you go home, really think about why am I in this industry? Because it is tough, and that reason why you're here when you're having those tough days. Me and Claudia did a content about crying in our closet. Why do you get up? Why do you keep going? So always remember that in those days where you're kind of feeling like, hey, what am I doing here? Every single person that I've ever seen in this coaching system, it's not my program, it's Aaron Novello's, is $1 million producer or more who's been doing it for at least, 5 years. If some of you guys went on and followed Ben Esposito, Dan Mizrobian, these are some of the other coaching clients besides myself, they're all $1 million producers. So this system definitely works. All right, so the 5-step buyer process. These are the 5 steps. The first is the consultation. The second is the lender meeting. The third is you're getting your buyer's rep signed. The fourth is going out on showings or sending them on showings. And then the fifth is making an offer and closing. So how many people in this room get up, someone calls you from a lawn sign and you just go out there? Be honest. Someone calls you from a lawn sign and says, I want to see your house that you have listed, and you just run out there. Or they call you from Zillow and you just run out there.
I've done that.
Yeah, I did too. When I first started, I did that, and there was an agent named Beverly Carter, if any of you know her story, in 2013, when I first started, I'm old, that she went out and met a client, and she ended up dead in a gutter. The truth is, we should never be doing that. Not only is it bad business sense, it's also unsafe. If someone cannot take the time to go through these steps with you, that means they're not qualified to work with you. They're not good enough for you. So the first thing in your consultation, number one, I'm going to ask you guys, who are the only buyers that you should be working with? Yes, qualified. Let's talk about sources. Where do these buyers come from? So the only buyers that you should ever work with, because I'm talking to you guys because you're producers, not because you just started, not because you're willing to work with anyone, but because you guys are top producers. Number one is sellers who need to buy. If Claudia has a listing in Forney and that seller wants to buy in Fort Worth, that's a buyer that Maya should take out, because that seller is definitely, we don't want to make these people homeless. They're definitely going to buy. If someone from another state refers you a client, Megan probably sells all the time at Keller Williams, right? Like people from Oklahoma, California. Another KW agent called you and said, Megan, who do you have in downtown? That's somebody that you're going to want to work with. Who's someone else you want to work with? Ben, you have 100 past sales, right? So when they call you and they want to work with you, you pretty much know they're going to do something, right? Yeah. So your past clients. And then people we personally know. So people you personally know are going to tell you the truth, and you're going to know a lot about them. They lost their job. They're getting divorced. You're going to know their true story. It's much harder for them to lie to you. So people you personally know. Who isn't on this list? Open house leads. Yep. Who else isn't on this list? Internet leads. Sphere of influence is like past clients and people you know. So Zillow leads, yep. So I'm not saying that those people are never people you should work with, but in general, since you guys are top producers and that is a very low conversion rate. What's the conversion rate? You have the actual numbers. 7%. So that means you're 93% unlikely to close them.
And that's if you're good. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So those leads you should be giving to somebody either on your team, someone who's part-time, but not you. You guys are serious business people. So first, only people that you're working with are sellers, referrals from other agents, past clients, people you personally know. I bet that probably makes some people in this room a little uncomfortable. Maybe a little. Would you dump half? Does that mean you're going to dump half your clients that you're currently working with? Did I just free up your schedule for serious people? Okay, so what makes a serious person? High motivation. Anyone ever work with a 1031 exchange buyer? Have you closed one? Tell everyone what that is, if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah, it's someone who sold real estate and they have to use that cash to buy real estate within a very short period of time. And a lot of times it's not just like 300,000. Sometimes it's 1.5 million that they have to move from this type of real estate into some other type of real estate. They have to do it.
Otherwise, they have to pay capital gains tax, which
That's
who
the
likes
whole
paying
reason
that?
they're
Yeah,
that's the whole reason they're using that.
So they're motivated for one, to avoid that tax, and two, because they have 6 months, I believe.
6 months.
So 1031 exchange buyers are high motivation. Those are people you want to work with. That's something you should be listening for during your qualification. Another thing you should be listening for is life changes. Someone tells you, hey, I'm getting divorced. Somebody's moving out of that house, or both people are moving out of that house. Having a baby, downsizing, basic any life changes, just like sellers. Whenever someone's having a life change, that typically means higher motivation. Timeline. Do we want to work with people who just started their search, they're not sure, maybe 3 to 6 months, maybe a year? No. We want to work with people who have to move in 30 to 60 days, or they're very afraid they might end up homeless, or they want to rent, which they don't want to do. Okay? So the timeline has to be like our lease is up. Whenever someone tells you our lease is up on this date, What's been your experience with those people?
Yeah, they're ready to buy and they're ready to contract.
Yep. And especially when they're like, I hate my landlord, like, get me out of here. So that's a big one. Another thing you're going to hear when people, my divorce is almost finalized. They got to find another place to live. They can't stay there. So you're going to be listening for that. The next thing is financial capability. That's where our friend over here comes in. So you're going to have a screening with your lender. We'll go over that soon. But should we be showing people $800,000 homes that, you know, they got $15,000 to put down on a house? Probably not. We want to figure out exactly what their financial capability is. And then you also want to decide as an agent, like, Claudia, maybe all of your buyers are $1 million buyers and this person only qualifies for $350,000. Maybe you want to give it to somebody on your team. Maybe they're not the price point that you're currently working at this point in your life. So you guys have the right to pick and choose, especially if you're a team leader. Team leaders are going to cherry pick and give everything else to someone else. Okay, family business alignment. Anthony, you and I do this all the time. You ever get to somebody and show them a house and one's like this the whole time, glad to be there? Do we want to know that before we even start working with this client? So during our consultation, we're going to want to ask questions around, is everyone equally excited to move? Or is it just you? Because nobody wants to go on a showing with a sad Sally and a happy Harry. Okay, consultation. How many people feel very uncomfortable with me saying, no, I will not meet you at the property without a 30-minute Zoom meeting? Good. Live in that discomfort. I will not meet a client without having done a 30 to 45-minute Zoom. If that first of all, is it really for you or is it for them? It's really for them. Because during this consultation, you're going to be finding out exactly what they want, what they need, and what's best for them. So 30 minutes could save them days and months of agony. If someone's not willing to do this with you, what are the chances that they're actually going to buy with you? Pretty much, yeah. So I know that this is probably going to make people in this room very uncomfortable, but if you can set a rule for yourself that you will not work with a buyer who won't do a 30-minute Zoom, you are going to see your life change. Now we're going to get our lender in on this call. Like I said, I wish I had known you back then.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. We can still be friends.
So at the time I was at Coldwell Banker, our preferred lender was GRA. But I always had them in on that call because a lot of the questions are not going to be about real estate. They're going to be about rates, buy downs, concessions, down payment, monthly payment. So you definitely want to have your preferred lender on that initial consultation. If you guys don't have a lender that's willing to do that, dump that lender and get a new one. There's one right here.
Yeah,
are you willing to do that?
Yeah, that's easy.
Okay. But I do have like some lenders that when I first moved here, they were like, that's a waste of my time. I'm not going to do that. Those are not good partners. Make sure your partners are like 100% into doing that with you. So it should take between 30 and 45 minutes. Before you even get on this call with them, you should have the buyer's rep filled out and ready to send to them. In fact, I actually would send it before the call so they knew what I was going to ask for. You guys have any questions so far? Nope. Okay, all of you are going to get a copy of this. If you want to take a picture, you can. So you're probably wondering, what do I do during that consultation, the 30 to 45 minutes, what am I asking them? You're going to ask them all these questions. By the way, all my listing agents, what does this look like to you? Yes, that's exactly what this is. You're pre-qualifying for buyer motivation. When we ask these questions, guys, it's so, so important that you come from a place of service versus you interrogating them. Because when you talk to people in a tone that you want to serve and that you're just trying to figure out what they want, it's an entirely different feeling than barraging them with questions to where they feel like the spotlight is on them. So for example, hey Ben, I saw that you sent me this property in Seagoville. Is there anywhere else other than Seagoville that you would be interested in? Did you want to see any of the other areas?
Yeah, we're open to other areas. Yeah.
So that's a lot nicer way of saying, hey, Seagoville's a piece of shit. Where do you want to live? So we want to ask questions, again, what's in it for them? So what's important to you about this area? Why are we asking that question?
Maybe it's location, maybe they want to live by their mom, school district.
You're going to uncover other motivation. You guys ever have somebody say, oh, I want to live in that area because the schools are good? And maybe you know as a realtor that actually the schools aren't so good. And there's maybe a better opportunity for them that they get more money for their home or more home for their money. You ever have someone say to you, oh, I want to live there because it's close to my job and I don't like a long commute? You might uncover that the long commute is why they want to sell their house, and now you can do what? Get the listing. So you're just uncovering more information. The next question on the list, how long have you folks been looking for a home? Anthony, why are we asking people that?
Because if they've already been looking for a long time, they're probably not in a rush.
Yep. Megan, people who've been looking for 2 years, are they really ever going to buy?
No. They're not.
I mean, we might get lucky, but like 9 out of 10 people, they're probably not going to do anything. Have you seen any homes that you like? Can you describe them for me? Sometimes the home that they send you is already sold. They saw it on social media. It was a bait and switch, but at least now we know what they're really looking for so we can find it. All right, next question on the list. How soon do you have to move in is typically what I would say. How soon would you like to move in? Ben, why are we asking that question? Again, motivation. Have you ever had people say something like, oh, it doesn't matter, maybe soon, maybe next year? Like, do those people buy homes, especially when the rates are 8%? If you have somebody that's been saying something like that to you, drop them. They're wasting your time. If somebody says to you, well, we got to move in by July 1st because my job starts then, or the baby's on its way, or my lease is up, double down on those people. They're going to buy. Do you need to sell an existing home to buy the next one? Now you're asking to find out whether or not they're going to be a contingency offer. In our market right now, like, are you guys getting contingency offers accepted? I've been seeing them get accepted. It's not as much an issue right now, but like in 2021, if you made a contingency offer, you didn't have a shot in heck. That was a waste of time. So you want to know that. Are you working with any other real estate agents? Who has the guts to ask this question? Like it. I like it. What do people usually tell you? So what's your follow-up question when they say no? I would even turn that into, okay, great. Sounds like you're ready to sign a buyer's rep agreement with me. Assume the sale. Awesome. Okay. What price range are you considering? Are people typically looking at a much higher price range than they can actually afford? Yes. That's why you got your friend on the phone with you. Then you're going to go through their wants. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what features. You guys can take pictures of this one too. Okay, now here's where your lender comes in. I pretty much pass the appointment to the lender at this point and let them take over. Have you and your lender determined a down payment? How much do you want to put down? What is the maximum monthly payment you would like to have? Are there any other people who need to see the home before you make a decision to buy? Again, we're getting the gifters involved. How many homes will you need to see before you make a decision to buy? Anyone have the guts to ask this question? Good. Most people don't. They're going to literally go on 20 showings. We need to ask this question because what does it do for the buyer? It sets the expectation, and it also gets them to think, well, how many homes do I need to see before I make a decision? Any of you ever, some of you have sold a lot of homes. Any of you ever shown the home that the buyer bought the first showing, but they took you on 10 more just to figure out that was the one? So we want to start planting that seed for them that, hey, if you find the right one, what do we need to keep looking for? If we see the right home today, are you ready to make a decision today? I know 9 out of 10 of you would never ask that question. The one person who will is going to close 12 sales in the next 6 months. The way I typically get buyers to go with my lender versus someone else, I'll ask them a question like, hey, have you looked at any new construction? And they'll be like, yeah, I have. Okay, great. The builder asked you to go through their lender, right? Well, this is no different. And usually people are like, okay, fine, put them on the call. And then if they're still arguing with me, I'm like, look, it's a second opinion. What's the worst that can happen? You decide you don't like him, you stick with your first guy. No big deal. But usually people don't argue with me because typically we're talking about getting some, down payments and different things. And typically, like Josh, they have like special programs that are attractive. So especially if you guys have lenders that have attractive programs, like use them to your advantage. I want you to like underline this question and make sure you ask it to every single buyer from now on. If we don't find the right home today, how quickly will I be able to reach you if I find you the right home? I know it sounds so stupid, like why do we have to ask people this? But the truth is people think that we're just there to open doors, and they do ghost us. So this is setting the precedent that, hey, you're not going to ghost me, B-I-T-C-H. You're going to call me back.
Say that. Ghost to me, right?
Yes, this is not going to happen. Yes, girl, do it. So these are your pre-qual questions. I know that some of them are going to be very uncomfortable. It's just like your seller pre-qual. Anthony, when you get all those questions asked, do people list with you? If you guys get all these questions asked, do you think that they're going to buy with you? The more comfortable you guys get with these questions, the more money you're going to make in a quicker period of time. And if you want to practice them, write them out. If you want to chant them with somebody, chant them with somebody. Make sure it starts to sound like your voice. Obviously, these are my words. Put them into your words. You don't have to use mine, as long as you're getting the point across. Okay, so buyer's rep. These are going to be all the objections you guys get. And I have changed them to be in line with the NAR changes. Unless something is different than what we expect with NAR, these are going to answer a lot of people's questions. Okay, these are the objections you guys are going to get. Who pays commission? So we are going to put this in email version so that it's in writing, and we are also going to talk about this with the client so that there is never any confusion. And it's also going to be in your buyer's rep. You guys are going to start signing your buyer's rep, whether you're going to accept 2 or 3%, whatever you guys want, and it's going to say like, hey, this could come out of the buyer's pocket. So you're going to have to explain that to them. Ben, your face looks confused. Okay. Okay.
It's just how he looks, Jessica. Come on.
So after we ask that, after we handle that objection, what do you think their next question is going to be naturally? Would the buyer ever be expected to pay commission? So this has never really happened before. So for people who are over like 40 or that they've already bought a home, they're going to argue with you. They're not going to get it. So we're going to talk to them. Some purchase opportunities, because this has always been true, by the way. This is actually not new. Some purchase opportunities require a buyer to pay their agent. For sale by owners not offering agent commission. Foreclosure, REO, short sale properties. The bank or the seller's attorney require the buyer to pay their agent. This has always been true. This is nothing new. If any of you ever worked in REO or in 2008, a lot of us were begging for our commissions and having to get it from buyers because they were getting such good deals and there was no equity. So all we're doing is just restating this. And if there are buyers who are saying, hey, I don't want to pay you commission, you're going to have to resell them on what you're offering them. Would I know if I'm expected to pay commission? These are going to be all the questions you guys start getting, so you can take screenshots. Yes. Before showing a property, these facts are disclosed to the buyer when known by the agent. Are there times where you do not know? There actually are times where you do not know. Sometimes you guys are going to be showing short sales, and the listing says that there's 2% to you guys, but now the bank says, sorry, there's no equity, good luck. But you have to let your buyer know at some point. So when known by the agent, you have to disclose it. Sometimes you guys don't know. If I were you, I would start printing out every MLS listing when you make an offer. Because you need to have, right, Megan, you probably dealt with this, like where it says 2% BAC, 3% SAC. Because there are going to be situations where you guys might need to argue for your commission coming up. Because people might say, oops, the rules changed, we don't want to pay anymore. If you have that MLS printout, you do actually have the ability to arbitrate the other broker. So I'm going to move on to the next one. All of you right now should be introducing to your clients to someone who can act as like a guard or a barrier for you. So Claudia, it could be Edna. Melissa, it could be Jonathan. And what you're going to say to them, and you're going to give this information, hey, what happens if I'm not happy with the service provided by my agent? If an agent is not responding to your calls, texts, or emails, please contact the team leader or another member of the staff. An executive meeting will be held. If the service does not improve after the issue is brought to the team's attention and given sufficient opportunity to rectify, the buyer's representation agreement will be terminated, giving the buyer full authority to work with another agent. Why are we saying this? Why is this actually in our best interest? This is actually giving us a chance to keep the business without someone just saying, hey, I'm done with you, I'm terminating. If this has ever happened to somebody, it hurts your heart, where you've taken someone out 10 times, they met some other agent at some open house that they want to screw or whatever, and they send you a termination. This is saying, hey, you're not going to terminate just because you feel like it. There's going to actually be a meeting held, and if your claims are true, then it will be terminated. So like Peter, you're going to make sure your client knows Megan. All of you should make sure that your client knows someone you trust that they can go to and say, hey, you know, I really like Melissa, but it's a little bit of a conflict of personality, whatever, so that Melissa has an opportunity to keep her client. We want to keep people from terminating on you. We want to set the precedent up front, because sometimes people try to cancel on you because someone promises them 1% back. It has nothing to do with you. And that's going to lead me to the next thing. What happens if another agent offers me an incentive to work with them? I want everybody to be putting this in your client's mind. You may not cancel the buyer's representation agreement simply because a better offer has presented itself. An agent is dedicating their time, expertise, and resources to assist you. Signing a buyer's representation agreement means you are committed to working together. You should be leery of agents offering kickbacks to their clients. When is the last time you went to the doctor and they gave you a piece of the insurance money for seeing them? All of you have been beaten by some agent in Frisco who's giving back 1%. I'm alive, so I have to be careful with what I say. There is a certain sector of our population that this is the only way they get buyers, kickbacks. We want to set the precedent up front with our clients that that's not acceptable, and that's not a reason why you can cancel on me. By the way, if somebody walks because of this, isn't that a good thing for you? Better to know now. Okay, what happens if I change my mind about purchasing a home? Do I owe anything? This happens. Probably all of you have had like a home you wanted to rent or a home you wanted to purchase, and you just changed your mind. That happens. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get something out of it. A thank you for the time and effort is all that you owe. If you feel your agent has provided spectacular service and is worthy of a 5-star review and or the recommendation to your friends and family, that is how our buyers who aren't quite ready to pull the trigger reward our agents for their excellent duty. We understand that buying is scary, and we never want a client to feel pressured into something they don't want. We are here for you whenever you are ready. So that client should know, like, if they change their mind, it's okay. They don't need to hide from you. They don't need to ghost you. But, like, write me a 5-star review, because that helps you guys. Every time you get a 5-star review, it kicks you up in Zillow and Google, so it always helps you. And then the other thing that it's kind of setting the tone for is, like, this time of year, pretty much everyone knows somebody moving. So maybe they're not ready, but maybe they tell their cousin or their friend or their ex, whatever, Claudia is amazing. Like, you guys should try her. So there's other ways that we can get business even if somebody changes their mind. Do you guys have any questions about these? Okay, last one. I hear that agents just want to sell homes and don't care about my interests. Is that true? While some agents in this industry choose to operate in this manner, we have been in business since 2013. This is accurate for me. You guys say whatever's accurate for you. Our business is built on repeat clients and positive reviews. We will always be transparent, providing you with data and analysis pertinent to your bottom line. This is so true. A lot of you guys are competing with people who do not care about that client at all. They will sell a home that has a sewage leak, a foundation problem, and tell them how beautiful the counters are. So let's actually be this person. All of you, I know this to be true of you anyway, but not only let's actually be this person, but let's remind people why they're choosing you and not somebody else. Right? Because we've already told them, hey, I'll go out and spend money on gas. Hey, I've already spent an hour with you on Zoom and all this other stuff. But if you change your mind, that's okay. So we're already demonstrating that we're the best salesperson for them and reminding them why they should choose us and not another agent. By the way, do all of us have to start selling ourselves just like a listing agent would? Is this kind of like our sales presentation that we do with listings? We just went through it yesterday. It's the same thing. So these are all of their objections. You should get it signed. After that, what's next? Showings. So what you're going to do, and you're going to tell them this, hey, I'm going to comb the inventory for the 3 to 5 best homes in your price range, in your desired area, that you can purchase in the next 30 to 60 days. So that means no new construction that's 6 months out. I'm going to show you these property, and then I'm going to ask you to make an offer on one of these properties the day that I show them to you. We're going to discuss terms and negotiation strategy together and come up with something that makes you feel comfortable. Are you ready to get started, Mr. Buyer? So some of you would not have the guts to say this. I would not work with a buyer without saying this. I sold 12 homes in 1 year without showing a single home as a listing agent doing this exact formula. Who's going to work with you? People who are wasting your time or people who need to buy a home when you tell them this? Yeah. Who do we want to work with? He goes, yeah, I'm with you, little guy. So the most important thing about this, guys, is when they're going to get a little hesitant about, like, what do you mean only 3 to 5 homes? You're going to have to really explain to them, like, I looked at everything on MLS. I looked at all the for sale by owners. I went through all the off-market inventory, and I found the 3 to 5 very best options in your price range. So you have to make sure that they really trust you and believe that that's accurate, because it has to be accurate. You guys actually have to do it. Don't just pick 3 shitty houses. I mean, if the price point's low, you do the best you can. By the way, does anyone have a number of homes to where you will no longer work with a client? For me, it's 10. If you get to 10 showings, you haven't picked one, I'm done with you. Do any of you have a number where you're done with people? No. You guys have to have a number. You know, attorneys, doctors, all professionals have their minimum standards for clients they'll work with. You guys have to have yours. For me, I will not show you more than 10 homes. You have to have picked one. Now, if you lost on a bidding war and you did your best, that's one thing, right? Like, they actually did it. But if you're out here looking at these gorgeous homes and like, I don't know, we're done. The serious ones, like people who are relocating, who have to move, they're a breath of fresh air. Oh my God, they're so happy to meet you. They're like, I just want to go out shopping. I don't want to look at homes all weekend. They're like, yes, show me 5 gorgeous homes. Like, tell me what I need to do. Let's go. And those are your clients. Your clients are not the people who just can't figure out their head from their toes. You're going to explain what a door opener and a showing assistant is before you even take, at the time that you get your buyer's rep signed. Why are we telling them then what it is? They need to know what to expect. And they also need to understand that that's actually a very low part of the value. Like, literally, robots are going to do this in the future, by the way. This is not going to be an agent activity. Ensure buyers know how to communicate with you. So for me, I don't work Sundays. I don't pick up my phone. Me and Anthony are out playing soccer with the kids, hanging out. I don't work. Your clients need to understand your schedule, and they also need to understand certain things, like if they're going to open houses, that you're their agent, right? You have to explain all these things to them up front so that they're not able to say, well, I'm not okay with that. They need to know it up front. Future pace the next steps and overcome objections. So what is future pacing? Who can tell me what future pacing is? So future pacing is like when you're going out and looking at homes, you should be talking about the offer process, the inspection process, the appraisal process. When you're in appraisal, you should be talking about their welcome party. Their, what do they call those things? When their housewarming party. So if after 5 showings the buyer does not choose a home, here's what we're going to want to do. And by the way, this is overcoming buyer objections. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, which of the following would you like to change in our search? 1, location. Let's say you have a buyer that really wants to be in Frisco, but their budget is $650 and they need a 5-bedroom house. You know what, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, it looks like the only way that that's going to happen in Frisco is a fixer-upper. and you've told me that you definitely don't want a fixer-upper. How do you feel about McKinney? How do you feel about Little Elm? What do you think about moving to these areas? Why are we telling them that? Yep, because if all they can afford is $650, they're going to have to change location, or they're going to have to change style of the home. So sometimes people will tell you, absolutely not. My kid is in the STEM program at XYZ school. We have to be here. Okay, no problem. So the next thing I'm going to ask you is size. You know, for $650, it looks like we can get this home in this school district, but it's not going to be 5,000 square feet. It's going to be 3. Can you live with a 3,000 square foot house? No, absolutely not. I need 5,000. Okay. What about the condition and the age? So I found these 3 homes in that school district with that size. These are the only 3 I found. They're fixer-uppers. You're probably going to have to put 50 to 100,000, but you probably could move in as is. It's just cosmetic. Would that work for you? No, I'm not going to live like that. Okay, well, right now you guys are qualified for $650,000. Is there a family member that could gift you a down payment to help you? Is there a cosigner that would be interested in helping you to raise, you know, this is where your lender comes in. All of your problems with all of your buyers, this is how you go through it. This is probably the most valuable thing I'm going to teach you guys today.
The truth of the matter is that the way that you're going to grow your real estate business is by being in the right rooms, period, right? So it's not really about brand or brokerage name anyway, right? So like being in the right room, and then where I'm at in my career that I hope I can impart to you early on in your career is that being in the right model will make a big difference for your future as well, right? And this is the right model. This is, I mean, all the research I've done, and I'm a high C type of person, like this is the right model for the future in terms of like you maximizing all the opportunities that are out.